Three Kingdoms. Disrupting people and disaster victims. Aren't they elite soldiers and fierce generals? Introduction. www.zhaoshuyuan.com. The heavenly jade seal was bestowed upon the Prime Minister, requesting our Lord to follow the heavenly order, ascend to the throne in the 9th 5 years, reform the country, and achieve the great cause of the Emperor. Long live my Emperor, long live! How could I, Louis, be so virtuous? How dare I hold on to a great position? You have caused me trouble. The remaining smoke of the Han Ding is still lingering, and the world is facing fierce opponents. Lu Yi traveled through the late Eastern Han dynasty and became a member of the Han family sect. https://www.zhaoshuyuan.com. Chapter 1. Opening of the Heavenly Collapse, Trapped in Pengcheng. You are listening at novelfull.audio. Ads by Google equals window. Ads by Google. Push. When Lu Yi woke up, he found himself in the ruins. It's a state of confusion. After receiving the original owner information, I'm even more confused. Lu Yi sorted out the memories of the original owner and received two pieces of news. Good and bad. Good news, the original owner was the great-grandson of Prince Jing of Pengcheng, Lu Gong. Like Liu Bei, they were both Han dynasty royal families. Bad news, because my grandfather neglected his older brother and concubine, he was forced to commit suicide, and my father was implicated and driven out of Pengcheng. Like Liu Bei, he has never enjoyed any glory, wealth, or status. After 3 years of filial piety for his father, the original owner wanted to seek help from his cousin. Now, the king of Pengcheng, Lu He, is seeking a small official position to solve the problem of food and clothing. However, these are not much. The most important thing now is the 4th year of Chuping. Autumn. And myself, in Pengcheng. The Shuzhou massacre began in the autumn of the 4th year of Chuping. Outside the city, it was because his father Chao Song was killed that he raised an army to attack the army of Cao Cao in Shuzhou. Once Pengcheng is conquered, everyone will die. Including oneself. Lu Yi looked up and asked the sky in silence. What a sinkhole opening this is. No wonder there will be ruins around. All the stones were thrown in by the catapult, and the house was covered in broken eaves and walls. The original owner also died because he was hit, and was replaced by himself. Suzhou Governor Tao Qian, who was defeated by Cao Cao, has abandoned the city and fled. Nowadays, Pengcheng is full of people who cannot escape, and there are not many soldiers at all. Tao Qian not only took away the soldiers, but also swept away all the provisions and weapons in the city. Without food and soldiers, in a few days, Pengcheng, which was besieged, broke through without attack. Then he was slaughtered clean by Cao Cao. Lu Yi is numb. Just wearing it, you're going to die. What a sleeping trough this is. Liu Bei, who was also a member of the Han dynasty royal family living in hardship, could have been killed as soon as he arrived if he could stand firm in the 3 kingdoms. No. Fu. Even if it was the beginning of a landslide, Lu Yi could play rocket with a bad hand. When Pengcheng was first surrounded, someone tried to escape. But after being caught by the Cao army, he slashed down and lost his head. Then no one tried to escape from the city again. Although death may come sooner or later, at least Pengcheng still has towering city walls. I can hold a glimmer of hope and hope to survive. But Lu Yi knew that the enraged Cao Cao would not spare any of the people. Even if they are unarmed. Even if they are not the perpetrators of killing Cao Song at all. As long as they live under the rule of Tao Qian, Cao Cao will kill chickens and warn monkeys. At present, I am alone, without money, food, or soldiers. How to get out of trouble? Ding dong. The portable Lingtian system has been launched. May I ask if the host can bind it? Lu Yi's eyes lit up and he immediately chose to bind. Whether we can survive depends on whether the system is awesome. Congratulations on successfully binding the host. Activate Level 1 Spirit Field. Open a Level 1 shopping mall. Louis quickly opened the information panel. Host. Louis official position. None reputation value. 1 currently unlocking Level 1 spiritual fields. 10 acres of spiritual fields can be planted simultaneously. Currently unlocking Level 1 shopping mall, refreshing mall items at 0.00 daily. Unlock the beginner gift package, 100,000 units of Level 1 fertilizer and 100,000 units of rice seeds. Level 1 fertilizer can immediately ripen the items planted in Level 1 spiritual fields. Rice seeds mature in 1 day after planting. Louis breathed a sigh of relief. Although I don't have money or soldiers, at least I have food in my hands. In times of chaos, whoever can feed themselves, whether it's the army or the people, will follow them. With a thought, 10 rice seeds were planted in the refreshed 10 spiritual fields. Sprinkle with ripening fertilizer. The seeds in the spiritual field quickly take root and sprout at a speed visible to the naked eye. In an instant, the yellow, orange, and plump rice bent the rice. Lu Yishi smiled happily. He will store the harvested rice in the warehouse next to the spiritual field. The warehouse looks small, but it has a universe inside. No matter how much Louis put in, there still seems to be a lot of room. The rice grown from 10 acres of Lingtian is worth 10,000 kilograms. It's enough for the people in Pengcheng to open their stomachs and eat for 1 or 2 days. If you save eating, you can eat longer. With food, Louis had confidence in solving the current siege of Pengcheng. When you are full, you have the strength to work. Whether it's tidying up the remnants of the city, or taking care of the injured, climbing up the city walls to defend against the enemy. Everyone has the strength to do it. And having food in one's own hands, one can also command these people. In the era when thermal weapons were not invented, siege is always the most challenging. Meanwhile, Louis felt that Cao Cao would not besiege Pengcheng for too long. Cao Cao is now the governor of Yenzhou, under the command of Yuan Shao. Highly constrained and lacking autonomy. He did not have the same authority as when he became Prime Minister Cao later on. He launched an attack on Shuzhou on a whim and was not adequately prepared. Soldiers may not have enough food and forage. As long as one can stabilize the people of Pengcheng, even consumption can consume Cao Cao to death outside the city. The grain and forage of Yenzhou will not appear in the Cao army's camp out of thin air. And one's own food can always be available. My advantage lies in me. However, with so much food, taking it out still cannot expose one's trump card. You need to use your brain. King Lu He of Pengcheng is not currently in Pengcheng. He fled to Dongye County, Dongjun County, Yenzhou. And all the officials, big and small, who could escape, left with Tao Qian. There are no tigers in the mountains. Louis wiped the blood off his face and went to the center of the city. This is the farthest location from the city wall, and it is difficult for a catapult to hit it. The people here are also the most. Zhaozhuyuan.com, I am the grandson of Prince Jing of Pengcheng. Seeing the heavy casualties among the people today, I cannot bear it. May we open up the granary of the royal mansion and allow the people to have enough to eat. Those who wish to defend the city, come with me to the granary to collect grain. After listening to Lu Yi's words, the people were momentarily stunned. Then he laughed and laughed. A half-sized little doll, what big talk. The grain in the granary has long been taken away by the governor. You said you were the grandson of Prince Jing, why didn't you follow Prince Pengcheng? Scammer. Why didn't you open a granary when the Cao army first besieged the city? Now that there are so many deaths and injuries in the city, I remember. You powerful people don't have a good thing. Bah. Lu Yimo remained silent and turned around to leave. The people mocked him a few times. Continue to wait in despair for the arrival of death. In no time. A burst of fragrance rushed towards my face. What flavor? Why is it so fragrant? I smell it too. It smells good. It's congee. Louis, who has gone back, is holding a pot of porridge that has just been boiled. The people widened their eyes and all gathered around. White rice congee. It's a kind of white rice porridge that only noble people can eat. This kid, isn't he really the grandson of Prince Jing? Surprisingly, there is still surplus grain in the Wang mansion. These people all carry blood on their bodies. The patched clothes have several holes torn. They stared at the pot of porridge and sniffed the fragrance floating in the air. The eyes were emitting green light. It looks like a gathering of hungry wolves. I wanted to tear Louis apart and eagerly swallow his flesh and blood. Chapter 2. Lingtian in hand, grain management full. You are listening at novelfull.audio. Ads by Google equals window. Ads by Google. Push, the starving people reached out their hands to Louis one after another. They wanted to steal the pot of congee from Louis. Louis smashed the pot heavily onto the ground. The white porridge splashed everywhere, immediately contaminated with the dust on the ground, and no one could eat it. The people looked at the porridge on the ground with heartache. The nobleman really doesn't know that rice and grain are expensive, such a waste. You will be punished by heaven. What did I smash it for? My parents have been hungry for a few days and haven't eaten anything. Louis looked at these people coldly. I'll say it again, those who are willing to defend the city, follow me to the granary to get grain. There is plenty of rice in the granary, enough for everyone to eat. No one will go hungry. Those who don't want to, just wait here to die. Some people don't believe it. There were no officials in the city, and they were extremely hungry. They bravely rushed into the official and royal mansions. I searched the entire mansion but couldn't find a single grain of rice. How did this kid find the food? Louis carried his hands behind his back. I said I am the Empress Jingwang of Pengcheng, so naturally I know that the palace has a secret passage for surplus grain. Believe me, there will naturally be food to eat. These people have been starving for several days. The Louis in front of them was their last life-saving straw. In the eyes of these people, Louis looked weak and could even kill a chicken. Immediately there were people, evil towards the edge of the gallbladder. Follow this kid and find the location of the food. Then he went down with a brick and chopped him down. Then they won't have to go hungry. One less person can share their own rice. A few who still seemed to have some strength stood out from the crowd. We are willing to go with the husband. Louis remained calm and took a few steps back. If you eat my rice, you have to obey my orders. Would you be willing to? Willing. Louis nodded. Okay. Looking at the crowd again. Is there anyone else willing to go together? There is a lot of rice in the granary, only a few people, and we can't finish moving it. There was a moment of silence in the crowd. Many people have come out again. Louis asked them again. With rice, we still need to cook. Is there a woman willing to do it? If so, let's go together. The crowd became noisy. Many women emerged excitedly. Lang Jun, I am willing. Just cooking, the elderly and children at home can have a full stomach. These tasks are done by them every day and they are very familiar with them. But Louis still hasn't left. Someone needs to share the gruel. Does anyone want to do it? I said ugly things first. It's impossible to eat without working. Only those who are willing to move, cook, share, and defend the city, as well as their families, can have food. If you can't do anything, don't think about eating. The city can't afford to keep idle people. The old man with dark skin and gray hair smiled bitterly. It seems that we, who are getting older, are destined to starve to death. Anyway, if we die, we can still leave more food for these young people and live an extra day. Louis said, those who have little strength or are old enough can go and pick up firewood. It's cool at night, everyone needs to keep warm. Cooking also requires fire. You can also tidy up the places where people can live. So many people, are they all sleeping on the street? It's freezing at night, and weak people can't bear it. Lu Yi's words gave hope to those who thought they were going to die. Their eyes were no longer filled with despair, and they worked hard to stand up from the ground. There were many more people gathered around Lu Yi. There are no officials in the city, and the dragons are leaderless. Now Lu Yi, who has revealed his identity, speaks out the instructions in an orderly manner, one by one. These people also have a backbone. I'm going to pick up something that can make a fire. Son, come quickly and go pick up firewood with grandmother. Louis nodded to himself when he saw the people moving. The others will follow me and go to the Wang mansion to move grain. Louis knew that if there were only a few people, he would follow him to the palace. There is a high probability of encountering unexpected events on one's own. But with more people, it's different. People's hearts cannot be aligned. Even if someone takes action, even if no one protects it. He can also take advantage of the chaos and escape to a deserted place. Anyway, he has something to eat and won't die. As long as you evade the search of the Chao army, you can survive. These people are different. There is no doubt about death. When cooking congee, Louis had already turned around the palace of Pengcheng Lord. This time, I returned to my hometown and took my people around the palace, reaching a very remote place. That's it here. Louis pushed open the door. The people behind them all widened their eyes. Following Louis, I wandered around the royal mansion for so long. They thought that Louis was lying to them. Unexpectedly, the Wang mansion really has food. They can't starve to death. The crowd who saw the grain became excited and eager to rush inside. Louis led the way. This is not for the whole family, it's for everyone in the city. Don't think about being greedy. The man lowered his head under the gaze of everyone, feeling guilty. Louis stood aside and directed a man with greater strength to move the grain. In no time, the grain was emptied. There wasn't much food in the house, so Louis didn't take out all of it. He needs to keep a backup. Without satisfying human desires, it is impossible for these people alone to hold on to Pengcheng. We have food. We have food. The men were carrying grain bags and shouting loudly along the way. The busy people in the city immediately put down their work and crowded over. After seeing the bulging grain, their hearts were constantly uneasy before they let go. So that little gentleman really knows where there is food. Thank you very much for saving your life, Lang Jun. If I can survive this time, I will definitely repay my husband's kindness with my life. Lang Jun is a heavenly deity who descended to earth. He knows we are pitiful and came to save us. Louis lifted the old man kneeling in front of him. What about people who can cook? Hurry up and start a fire, and cook in a pot. Echoes echoed around, and many women rushed over to find the Shuyuan www.zhaoshuyuan.com. Lang Jun, I'll come, I'll come. Lang Jun, my family has a large population, so let me do this job. Can you share more with me later? In order to compete for work, these women almost had to fight for their jobs. Louis quickly assigned them shifts, 1 shift per meal, and took turns on duty. The delicious congee is so fragrant that the people in the city are not willing to work. Squeeze in front of the pot and stare at the steaming congee. They haven't eaten such white rice porridge in their life. Lang Jun is really a good person. Louis took the cooked congee and picked a quiet place to sip it. Open the information panel. Host. Louis official position. None reputation value. 10657. The current reputation value is full. May I ask if the host wants to upgrade? Upgrade. The experience bar, which was originally empty, began to fill up rapidly, passing through time and time again. In the end, it stopped at level 6. Unlocking level 6 spiritual fields allows you to plant 100 acres of spiritual fields simultaneously. Unlock level 1 poultry farming. Unlock level 1 livestock farming. Unlock level 6 shopping mall. Unlock and upgrade the big gift package, 30,000 units of level 2 fertilizer, 50,000 units of level 1 feed, 10,000 units of cabbage seeds, 2,000 chickens, and 1,000 pigs. Lu Yimei was drinking congee. This system is quite considerate. How can we just have food? There must be vegetables and meat. Life can only have flavor and flavor. Mainly because Lu Yi is greedy and wants to tidy up the small barbecue. At this point, the seasoning is difficult to handle. Lu Yi shifted his gaze to the mall. Chapter 3. So abundant, is it a breakfast rice? You are listening at novelfull.audio. Ads by Google equals window. Ads by Google. Push, Lu Yi roughly browsed through it. Although there are already quite a few items that can be exchanged in a level 6 mall. But there is still a lot of gray behind that cannot be exchanged. The cumin, pepper, and chili peppers that Lu Yi wanted were among those that could not be exchanged. Unable to fulfill his wish to have a small barbecue, Lu Yi was very disappointed. But just the current seasoning is enough. If there are no chili peppers, use cornel to make ends meet. If there are no cumin, use fennel, star anise, and coriander seeds. First, make do with it, wait for the reputation to rise, and then have a good meal to satisfy your appetite. The people had eaten white and large milled rice and cooked congee the day before, and their appetites had been lifted. They didn't even think about what to do today yesterday. I ate all the rice in one go. Congee is not enough. Many strong men, as well as tall and half-grown boys, wake up from hunger in the middle of the night. When Lu Yi woke up, he found everyone eagerly staring at him. He pretended not to know and rubbed his eyes. What are you watching me do? Those with thick skin dare to speak up. He smiled pleasantly at Lu Yi. Lang Jun, I wonder if there is any surplus food in the palace. Although I ate congee yesterday, I don't know where the food is today. He turned his head to look at his son, who was so hungry that his eyes turned green. Please have mercy on us and go find some more food. Lu Yi sat up and straightened his clothes. Did you move out a lot of food yesterday? Why did you finish it all in one go? Why don't we leave some for today's meal? The old man with gray hair complained. Lang Jun, it's because we don't know we have any leftover food. We've been starving for several days. We've only eaten it all in one go. Please be kind and go find some food. Lu Yi sneered in his heart. Tens of thousands of people in the city all ate their own rice. But in the end, he only received over 10,000 reputation points. This indicates that many people do not have gratitude towards themselves. Just using him as a meal ticket. I'm afraid there are still many people who want to hand themselves over and be merciful to Cao Cao. Let them go. Unfortunately, the first thing Chao's army had to do after breaking the city was to slaughter it. From the bottom of his heart, Lu Yi didn't want to give any more for these ungrateful people. At this moment, there was noise and the aroma of food coming from outside the city. Many hungry men, women, and children climbed up the city wall and looked down. I saw Cao Jun at the bottom of the city, setting up a big pot and having loud soldiers shout from below. My lord has an order, as long as you open the city gate, all these rice will be yours. Have you all been hungry for several days? Smell this meal, does it smell good? If there are those who are knowledgeable about current affairs, they should quickly open the city gate and welcome my lord into the city. Lu Yi raised his eyebrows. The people of Cao Cao are quite good. Before sending them on the road, let them have a full meal. Don't be that hungry ghost. Okay, since Cao Cao, you are in the first year of junior high school, don't blame me for being in the 15th. Lu Yi turned around and raised his arms, shouting loudly. Chow Chow was ambitious and attempted to deceive the people in the city into opening the city gates wide. After entering the city, he will definitely slaughter us and never give in. Want to eat his damn food? I'm afraid we won't have that fate. There is still surplus grain in the Wang mansion that can be used by the people in the city. Follow me to the Wang mansion to move the grain. Below the city is the wheat and rice of the Chow army, and above the city wall is the Langjun of the Pengcheng king's lineage. The people are very conflicted in their hearts, not knowing who they should listen to. But in the end, the fear of Chow Chow slaughtering the city still prevailed. After all, yesterday this gentleman indeed brought out rice and grain from the royal mansion. They did indeed eat half full. Today. It doesn't matter if I trust my husband again. Lu Yi ordered a few people and asked them to go with him to move the grain. But many people spontaneously followed behind Lu Yi, wanting to see if there was still any surplus food in the royal mansion. Lu Yi walked to a remote corner, which was opposite to yesterday's place. He pushed the door open with force. Dust rushed towards his face, choking Lu Yi in refusing. Lu Yi stepped aside. Everyone, go in and move the grain. The people rushed in. A pack of packed grains was carried by the strong men on their shoulders. The gathered people saw white rice through the gaps in the cloth bags. It's exactly the same as yesterday. Lu Yi stood on the steps, towering down. Everyone, don't be busy for now. The people stopped and turned their heads to look at Lu Yi. I don't know what he wants. Lu Yi smiled and said. Don't everyone want to eat vegetables besides rice? Having food but no dishes is not enough. Let's go to the city, old and young, to see if there is still crude salt. The eyes of the people have all brightened. Besides food, can you still eat the dishes? Lu Yiren caused a commotion among the people below. After they calmed down, let someone follow them to pick up the vegetables. The green leafy vegetables hidden by Lu Yi don't look very fresh. This was intentional tampering by Lu Yi. Where is a dish that has been stored for several days, or is it fresh? You cannot be seen through your cards by others. Everyone happily moved the vegetables out. A woman in the city had already started waving a spoon and cooking rice and stir-fry. Lu Yi disappeared after everyone ate it. When it reappeared, it turned out to be pushing a unicycle. The car was packed with meat. The people gathered like crazy, wanting to grab meat. But Lu Yi stood in front of the car, preventing them from making any progress. The people looked at the meat and their saliva dripped onto the ground. Some of them cannot eat meat even during the Chinese New Year. I can smell the fragrance of meat at most. I saw so much meat today. Lu Yi asked them. Do you want to eat it? The people nodded wildly. But he dared not come forward to grab it. They have understood that without Lu Yi, they would only have two paths to choose from. One is Pengcheng, slaughtered by the Chow army. One is to starve to death in the city. Zhaoshuyuan.com. So Lu Yi must never offend. Lu Yi left half of the meat and had it moved to the city wall. Take these and eat them first. The other half, I'll use it to repel the Chow army. The people find it unbelievable. Just relying on this meat, you want to withdraw. It's really a pipe dream. Those who wanted to come forward and grab meat were pushed to the ground by Lu Yi. What are you doing? Want to fatten your family and make others suffer? Upon hearing this, the people were furious and rushed forward to beat the man to half-death. Don't worry, listen to me. These meats will still enter your stomachs. I'm just temporarily borrowing it. Lu Yi pushed away the crowd and strode towards the city wall. Many people in the city didn't expect to have a day when they could eat meat. They held the fragrant meat, feeling uneasy and uneasy at the same time. There are thick congee, vegetables and meat. Is this the last meal they had before their death? Will you be left with the city wall by your husband after finishing your meal? After all, reducing the population in the city can ensure that more people have enough to eat. Now we eat thick congee. But after losing people, perhaps we can have dry rice. Many people can't eat congee and vegetables in their hands. Who would want to eat this decapitated meal? Louis walked up the city wall and looked down outside the city. Chao Jun surrounded Pengcheng like an iron barrel, with a neat and uniform formation. From time to time, there are people luring outside the city, asking people to open the door. Louis sneered and sat down on the spot. Then start cutting the meat and putting on the skewers. If you want to eat barbecue, then you have to eat it. Chapter 4. Defending Pengcheng, Chi Sha Amin. You are listening at novelfull.audio. Ads by Google equals window. Ads by Google. Push, Louis accurately calculated the wind direction, which is why he chose today. He was eating a delicious little barbecue on the city wall. The fragrance of meat will definitely be blown by the wind to the Chao army below the city. Faced with the overwhelming force of Cao Cao's army, Louis did not panic at all. He is alone, even including the people in the city. No one, they are opponents of Cao's army. However, he has a continuous supply of food that can supply everyone. And what about Cao Cao? How much military provisions can he bring when he comes from Yenzhou from afar? During the Three Kingdoms period, although there was more land and population, there was more food to support more troops. In fact, this year's military rations are supplied from last year's wheat ears. It takes more than 6 months to a year for grains to sprout and grow. In addition, the long-distance assault will consume a lot of military supplies. Louis is gambling. Cao Cao wants to fight quickly and make a quick decision. Accompanied by another plunder of Shuzhou, to supplement the losses incurred in his current deployment. Shuzhou is a plain area and a major grain-producing region. Cao Cao's plunder may not only make up for the loss of troops, but also bring some profits. Otherwise, Cao Cao would not have sent troops in summer and arrived in Shuzhou in autumn. Because autumn happens to be the time for harvest. Nowadays, all over Shuzhou, the granaries are at their fullest. Louis is just a gambler. Even if one's subordinates have no soldiers or generals, they can still rely on the spiritual field system to force Cao Cao to retreat due to lack of food. The skewered meat is placed on the shelf, emitting a delicious meat aroma. Sprinkle with seasoning substitutes. It smells even more fragrant. Louis kept fanning the meat fragrance towards the direction of the Cao army. At the same time, he also picked a few loud voices and stood beside him. This job has made many people envious. As long as you follow your husband, you will definitely be able to eat more meat than others. Louis first ate a skewer and tasted it. Well, that's good. Later, it was handed to a woman of all sizes around her. Auntie, please eat first. Once you finish eating, you'll have to do some work. The woman's eyes lit up and she ate the meat in just a few bites. She licked her mouth and then fixed her gaze on the sizzling meat skewers on the shelf. I have never eaten such delicious meat in my life. If I put in more effort myself, after a while, would there be a reason to ask my husband for more meat to eat? I'll say one sentence, you read one. Remember, the voice must be loud enough so that the Cao army below can hear it clearly. Oh, my lord, just give orders. The Cao army outside the city was already unstable due to the fragrance of meat floating in the city. Cao Cao ordered a ban, so it was easy to control the situation. Then he boarded the chariot with Cao Ren and approached the city wall. Cao Cao couldn't help but sigh when he smelled the fragrance of meat overflowing in the air. Not to mention the soldiers below, even he couldn't help but swallow the smell. At this moment, a woman stood on the city wall. Cao Cao was immediately overjoyed. I'm afraid the people in the city can't bear it anymore. They want to open up the city. This meat must be human flesh. The city is already extremely hungry. I saw the woman take a deep breath and shout loudly in a voice that everyone in the Chao army could hear. It is well known that Chao is deceiving a good wife. Chao soldiers, have you ever invited Chao Amin to have a meal? Your wife, have you ever seen Chao Amin? Aren't you afraid? Love your son and love your daughter, are they all surnamed Chao? Don't you be afraid to go see your ancestors after death, as you keep a secret for him and raise children, but end up with no offspring. Chao deceived the people in our city by offering food to deceive them into opening the door. But no one knows, no one knows. He is so cunning that he can even kill LV Bosch, who has shown kindness to him. Not only did he kill LV Bosch, but he also destroyed his entire family. Chao Amin would kill anyone who has shown kindness to him, let alone us, the people of Pengcheng. Chao Amin, your father and brother were killed, and the people of Pengcheng are all sorry for you. No one has a father, no one has a brother. We empathize with your sadness and pain. But you are picking and kneading the persimmons. We will use the lives of innocent people like us to quell your anger. The person who killed your father and brother is still alive, why don't you go find them for revenge? Chao Amin, what are you doing with us? Chao Ajai, you are heartless and unjust, yet you do not reason. I, the people of Pengcheng, do not agree, and the world also does not agree. Just like you, you still want to seize the Han family's world and ascend to the throne of the emperor. Chao Amin, you're dreaming. The hearts of the world belong to the talents of the Han dynasty, as many as a cow's hair. No one of them will be loyal to you, Chao Amin. Chao Ren's face turned pale upon hearing this, and he immediately petitioned Chao Chao to attack Pengcheng. Chao Chao squinted his eyes and looked at the woman on the city wall, raising his hand to stop Chao Ren. What if you capture Pengcheng now? These words have already been heard by the entire army. In the future, they will continue to spread throughout the world. You are a person who can kill a city. But can you block the mouths of all the people in the world? Chao Chao turned around and smiled at the angry Chao Ren. Besides, that's also true. I really want to know now. Who exactly is in the city, presiding over major events? It's a pity that such talents are not used by me. Zixiao, you should know that among 1,000 armies and horses, it is a skill to put a person's head on their neck. Chao Chao pointed at the city wall from afar. With a 3-inch sharp tongue, using it as a sword, I can kill all the people I brought this time. Chao Chao smiled and walked towards the military tent with his hands behind his back. Talent, talent. The hand on his back was tightly clenched into a fist. After shouting, the woman flattered and smiled at Lu Yi. Sir, what did I say just now? Lu Yi handed over a skewer of meat as a reward. Very good. Come on, change people, keep shouting. Just repeat what I just said. From noon until evening. On the walls of Pengcheng, there is no loud sound that goes off when looking for Shuyuan www.zhaoshuyuan.com. In the Chao army, Chao Ren and Eugene were extremely angry and requested several orders from Chao Chao to attack Pengcheng. But they were all stopped by Chao Chao. Haven't you noticed yet? That person is trying to lure me to attack the city. His words today will surely spread throughout the world in the future. If I attack the city at this moment, I'm afraid I won't have a chance to achieve my ambitions in the future. Chao Chao used iron pliers to manipulate the fire basin. Winter is beginning, and the weather is getting colder day by day. How much military rations do we still have? Chao Ren arched his hand and reported. Until the beginning of spring, there should be no obstacles. Chao Chao threw the iron pliers and pointed to Chao Ren. Wrong, we can hold on until late winter at most. After winter, the soldiers' daily needs for food and forage increased day by day. Zixiao, you missed the winter consumption. Eugene quickly said, Lord, as long as we break the city, we will have enough food and grass. Chow Chow raised his eyes and looked at him. How can we see it? The woman on the wall shouted loudly and forcefully, indicating that there was no shortage of food in the city. Otherwise, her voice would have been short. Chow Chow sneered. Yes, there is no shortage of food in the city. So they can consume with us until we run out of food and supplies. Isn't the siege of the city easily resolved? Chow Chow's dark gaze fixed on the flames dancing in the brazier. So. Go back to Yenzhou. What are you going back for? Siege. Chow Ren and Eugene were both dumbfounded. Just now, Lord, didn't he still say that he wouldn't attack the city? Why did you suddenly change your mind? Chapter 5. Reclaiming the people's hearts and attacking the city with no hope. You are listening at novelfull.audio. Ads by Google equals window. Ads by Google. Push. Chow Chow got up from the ground and patted the dust on his buttocks. Since we already know what the person in charge of the city wants to do, why do we still have to do as he wishes? He wants to consume us, but we have to attack the city. When Tao Qian withdrew, he took away all the soldiers, horses, and provisions. Now, in the city, there is only a group of unarmed civilians. What is he fighting me with? Chow Chow held his belt and laughed heartily with the soldiers. However, Chow Chow put away his smile and became serious. I don't know how much food and forage there is in the city, enough for them to eat for a few days. If it only takes a few days, there is indeed no need to engage in military action, which can reduce casualties. I'm afraid the food in the city will be enough for them to support for a long time. In this way, whether it's attacking the heart or the city, it's difficult to determine. Chow Ren pondered carefully. Lord, there shouldn't be much food in the city. Chow Chow turned around to look at him. Zixiao, talk about it. When Tao Qian abandoned the city and fled, he swept through the city's provisions. Even if there was more, where could there be more? Furthermore, today this person's strategy of attacking the people's hearts is obviously to appease the people in the city. This further illustrates that there is not much food in the city. I'm afraid there will be no food for the next day except for today. In the eyes of the last general, we will start attacking the city early tomorrow morning. We will definitely be able to capture it in one fell swoop. Chow Chow squinted his eyes and gazed at the towering Pengcheng in the darkness. Okay. Follow the plan of Zixiao. Let all the soldiers rest well tonight. Attack the city tomorrow. No. In the city, when Lu Yi led his people down the city wall, he saw the magnificent people. They gathered under the city wall, one by one, with eyes as wide as those of cows. When he saw the few people behind Lu Yi with oily mouths, he felt envious and jealous, and immediately got up. If only my parents had given me a loud voice. Today, this meat should be in my stomach. Sigh. Lu Yi looked around. Why are everyone gathered here? A brave man steps forward and clasps his fists. Lang Jun, what you said in the city just now is true. Chow Amin, you are really a good wife. The children of his soldiers are all surnamed Chow. Lu Yi touched his smooth chin. I don't know if it's Chow or not. But the fact that Chow A kept a good wife a secret is well known throughout the world. It's not me spreading rumors. People, look at me, I look at you. Suddenly everyone burst out laughing. Since the protagonist is a good wife, don't everyone around him have to offer his own wife? It's hard to say who the child in the womb belongs to if the wife has slept with the Lord. Ha ha ha, I didn't expect Chow Amin to have such a hobby. The soldiers of the Chow army are really miserable. Not only did they lose their own family, but they also had to take care of their children for their lord. Lang Jun, is it true that Chow Amin killed someone who was kind to him? Lu Yi nodded naturally. Nature is true. These have already spread throughout the world. Only I, the people of Shuzhou, are simple, so I don't know. Oh my, Fortunately there was a gentleman in the city. If it weren't for him, we would have believed the thief's words and opened the city gate. At that time, all the people in the city will definitely be slaughtered clean. Yes, if it weren't for my husband, we wouldn't have survived. Thank you very much for saving your life, Lang Jun. Thank you very much for saving your life, Lang Jun. Faced with everyone's kneeling and thanking, Louis quickly made them get up. My great-grandfather was Prince Jing of Pengcheng. As a descendant of Prince Peng, I should protect the people of Pengcheng. What's there to thank for? Father and fellow villagers, get up quickly. Lang Jun, you are so righteous. Lu Yi spoke politely, but his heart was filled with joy due to his growing reputation. After a while, he was able to upgrade again. I don't know how many levels I can reach this time, how many spiritual fields I can open, and how many crops I can grow. Louis coughed lightly, and the people spontaneously stopped the noise and waited for his command. Now, the people in Pengcheng respect Louis. In their hearts, the governor Tao Qian, who had once treated the people generously, was already a lowly person who had left them unattended. Only Louis, after Prince Jing of Pengcheng, is their true blue sky, the sage who can truly save them from fire and water. Louis estimated that after his own stimulation today, the Chao army would start attacking the city tomorrow. In order to defend Pengcheng, he must be prepared. Everyone, listen to me. The Chao army will definitely attack the city tomorrow. The faces of the people showed a look of panic. They looked at each other with tears streaming down their faces. Please help us, Lang Jun. Louis said sternly, don't worry, as long as I, Louis, live, I will definitely not abandon the people in the city. However, you have to listen to me. There must be no dissent. Louis scanned the crowd and saw all their expressions. You are greedy for life and afraid of death. You want to go out of the city to find Chao Jun and save his life, causing harm to Louis's life. I don't blame you. But if you report to the Chao army, it will harm the lives of all the people in the city. Even if I were a ghost, I wouldn't let you go, including your family. Several civilians who had intended to escape the city at night all lowered their heads. Louis is very satisfied. At this point, everyone has a simple belief. Believe that raising your head 3 feet is divine. Your words may not scare everyone, but as long as you scare some people, that's enough. There is still surplus grain in the royal mansion. Tomorrow, I will lead everyone to collect it. Don't be afraid, there will be no food to eat tomorrow. The surplus food in the Wang mansion is enough for us to hold on until the Chao army retreats. But for now, what we need to do is unite as one, work together, and repel the Chao army. Louis coaxed and said, aren't you afraid that after Chao Aqiao opened the city, he would kill everyone? You escape from the city and report to Chao Amin. He will definitely think that you are a treacherous villain looking for the book garden www.zhaozuiyuan.com. Such a person, Chao Amin will definitely kill someone in pain. Even eradicate them, and even kill your family together. My statement is not false. Didn't there already be the people of Pengcheng who were killed by the Chao army after escaping from the city earlier? So for now, the only thing we can do is rely on our own strength to push back the Chao army. At present, Governor Tao must also be trying to seek help and alleviate the difficulties of Pengcheng. Even if we wait until reinforcements arrive, we can still avoid the disaster of being slaughtered by the Chao army. The people were moved to tears by Lu Yi's words. This is the saint who truly planned for them. Pengcheng King. I've already fled to Donga. It's not even in the city. As for Tao Qian, the scoundrel who left them and waited to be bullied by the Chao army like slaughtering cows and sheep is not worthy of being their lord. My lord is here, please accept my respect. We swear to die and defend the city with our lord. Who dares to escape from the city and surrender to Cao Cao? There's no need for Cao Cao to take action. We'll kill his whole family and offer sacrifices to heaven first. Master, please give orders quickly. What should we do to defend Pengcheng? Oath to die, together with the Lord, to defend Pengcheng. Lu Yi was busy helping them up. But then he became distracted and watched as his reputation continued to rise. My heart couldn't help but burst into laughter. Now that the people are united, he still doesn't believe it and cannot force Cao Cao to retreat. The biggest loss is always the siege, and it is very likely that they will not be able to attack for a long time. How many people and horses do Cao Cao have, and how much food and forage do he have to squander? This city showcases Lu Yi's sharpness. This time, we must let Prime Minister Cao return defeated. Chapter 6. Unite as one and strike hard at the Cao army. You are listening at novelfull.audio. Ads by Google equals window. Ads by Google. Push, the sky was still dimly lit, but all the people in Pengcheng were not troubled. Everyone has already had a satisfying meal under the leadership of Lu Yi. Then wait for Lu Yi's command to respond to today's attack by the Cao army. Lu Yi commanded people to move the large wooden barrels collected from the city onto the city wall. Let the old and young who cannot resist the enemy find a good place to hide. Fearing that Chao's stone-throwing machine would damage the walls of the city's houses, Lu Yi instructed these people to wrap themselves in thick bedding and hide well. The rest of the people, those with kitchen knives carry kitchen knives, and those with farm tools carry farm tools. Although there are no weapons, as long as there are sharp objects, they can kill the enemy. In addition, Lu Yi also asked people to gather the corpses inside the city and move them onto the city wall. There are no large stones in the city, and even with corpses, one can barely make do with them. After everything was ordered, Lu Yi also inspected and confirmed that there were no problems. Last night, the people inside the city supervised each other and did not allow anyone to escape outside the city. They went to report to the Cao army. Despite sleepless nights, these common people, for some reason, were as excited as if they had been beaten with chicken blood. Lang Jun, I never imagined that I could even become a soldier protecting my home. Lu Yi patted the person's shoulder. Pai Fu still has one courage. Today, we should raise our arms and shout, so that Cao Amin cannot even enter the city. Follow your orders. Lu Yi loudly called for the person who had shouted to the Cao army on the city wall yesterday. Speak louder and declare war on Cao Amin. Everyone, make every effort to defend the city today. After the Cao army retreats, I will treat everyone to meat. Okay. Thank you very much, Lang Jun. Mr. Lang is truly a great kind-hearted person. Cao Cao was wearing armor when he heard a commotion outside. What happened? Report to the Lord that Pengcheng has declared war on us. Cao Cao smiled. Oh. How dare they declare war on me? Do they not know that our Qingzhou soldiers are invincible, and we are invincible and invincible? Someone. Beat the drums to welcome you. No. Cao Ren rode his horse to the bottom of the city and shouted loudly to the people on it. Who in the city dares to come out and fight me? The shouting on the city wall stopped for a moment, then rang out again. Cao Zixiao, you know that there are only elderly, young, women, and children in my city, yet you dare to let us go out of the city to fight. Do you have to rely on harming women and children to gain military merit? Aren't you afraid of spreading it and being laughed at by people all over the world? Without further ado, I, from top to bottom in Pengcheng, are united in the battle against your Qingzhou soldiers today. Cao Ren was extremely angry and threw his long spear towards the city. The spear was nailed to the city wall, almost hitting someone. The people on the city wall squatted down one after another, looking at Lu Yi and waiting for his next instructions. Lu Yi nodded at them. Cao Zixiao, your name truly lives up to its name, it's ridiculous. Do you have the courage to call out, but do you have the courage to welcome the women and children in my city? Cao Ren's face turned pale, and he cursed at the city without any regard for his own image. Lu Yi immediately gave the first command. The people in the city lifted up baskets and poured them down one after another. Chao Ren was caught off guard and fell all over his head. He quickly swung his sword and swung away these unidentified items. Upon closer inspection, Chao Ren couldn't help but burst into laughter. I thought it was some clever trick, it turned out to be just these things. Ignorant and foolish people, why don't you hurry and capture them? Open the city gate and welcome my lord into the city. Lu Yi carefully poked out his head. Chao Zixiao, don't worry, there's more. A basin of water poured directly onto Chao Ren. Pooh! Pooh! What kind of thing, it still has a strange smell. It's a foot wash for ignorant and foolish people you don't like, Chao Zixiao, is your grandfather's foot wash good to drink? Chao Ren was about to refute, but he felt unbearable pain on his face. There are armor and clothing covering other areas, and I just feel hot. But the pain quickly spread and gradually made Chao Ren unable to see things. Chao Chao shouted from behind, Zixiao, come back quickly. Chao Ren had no choice but to go back to camp. But for some unknown reason, he stumbled and threw Chao Ren down. Upon seeing it, Chao Chao suddenly became anxious. He just lost his father and younger brother, but he can't lose this younger brother anymore. Send someone to pick up Zixiao quickly. But for some reason, all those who approached Chao Ren stumbled and fell off their horses. Lord! They just threw Tsanger down. Chao Chao gritted his teeth and sat back. Although Tsanger is inconspicuous, it is covered in thorns all over. But even so, Chao Chao still couldn't understand why Tsanger could hurt a horse's hoof. These warhorses are all wrapped in hooves. When Chao Ren was carried back, his whole face was red and swollen, making it impossible to see. Chao Chao quickly called for a military doctor to diagnose and treat Chao Ren. Eugene approached and requested orders. Please order the last general to attack the city and avenge Zixiao. Chao Chao watched as the military doctor treated Chao Ren and waved his hand. No, I will personally go to battle and avenge my son's filial piety. Pengcheng bullied me too much. Lu Yi squinted his eyes and saw the stone-throwing machine constantly approaching the city wall. He ordered everyone to find cover and not easily expose it. Otherwise, one hit is accurate. The rain like arrows fell, making these people shiver and develop a desire to escape. Lu Yi promptly comforted them. We must remain calm. We cannot expose our trumps in advance, otherwise our efforts will be in vain. Your father and children will be killed, and your mother, sisters, and your wives and daughters will be raped after Chao Axiang enters the city. Do you want this ending? I don't want to. If you don't want to, just calm down and follow my command. The cloud ladder reached the city wall, but the Chao army was unable to climb up for a long time. Why are there so many bees? Ah! I've been stung. Don't step down. Ah! The city is in chaos. Lu Yi clenched his fist tightly and waved it. He knows it works. Of course, Tsanger cannot harm warhorses with hooves. But what about the yellow fungus wrapped in honey and lime? Bees can sting horses, while lime soaked in water can cause fever, which can irritate sensitive animals like horses. Tsanger and lime were collected by Luirang, the people of the city, from pharmacies. And honey, after Lu Yi upgraded to level 10, opened a level 1 honeycomb. This first wave of attack was barely blocked. Lu Yi held up a door panel to block the arrow rain. He poked his head down and estimated that it was almost there. Hurry up, throw the body down. Hurry up, hurry up. The people kept throwing the corpses piled up behind them. These bodies, which have been dead for an unknown amount of time, emit a foul odor. Not to mention suppressing the Chao army on the ladder, they can still stink to death. At first, Lu Yi planned to gather these corpses together and burn them. I'm afraid there will be a plague in the city by then. But it was stopped by the people. At this time, burial is popular, not cremation. Unexpectedly, there were both mistakes, and I happen to be using it now. Louis kept muttering in his heart, listening to people's advice and having a full meal. Zhaozuyuan.com watching the Chow army on the ladder, they couldn't climb to the top. Many soldiers in the city immediately vomited upon smelling the stench of the corpses. Completely lose combat capability. But this is not what Louis wants yet. With only tens of thousands of people in the city, how can we resist the excellent Chow army without any trouble? Under the third wave of attack, Louis took out his prepared third card. Pour it all down. Pour it all down. The lid of the large wooden bucket was lifted, and the smelly liquid inside the bucket was brought together to greet them on the ladder. These soldiers of the Chow army, who were about to climb up the city wall, fell off the ladder one after another due to their golden juice. There are casualties all over the city. The corpses piled higher and higher. Chow Ren, who had been wrapped up, accompanied Chow Chow and watched the war together. Lord, I'm afraid we need to withdraw our troops. Chow Chow pounded his thigh and let out a sigh. How poisonous it is. There must be great talents in the city. Ordinary people cannot come up with such strategies. Master. Big brother. Chow Ren looked at the increasing number of corpses in the city with heartache. Please order the withdrawal of troops, Lord. Chow Chow reluctantly pounded his thigh. Withdraw. The sound of the whistle sounded, and the Chow army began to retreat sparsely to the camp. The people of Pengcheng felt uneasy from the beginning, feeling that they could not resist the Chow army. Until now, I have witnessed with my own eyes the retreat of Chow's army. They could never believe that they had won. Lang Jun, have we won? Louis waved the door opener and looked at the retreating Chow army from afar. Yes, we won. Chapter 7. Amin's retreat and refugees entering the city. You are listening at novelfull.audio. Ads by Google equals window. Ads by Google. Push, Chow Chow has never been defeated. But I have never been defeated like this before. What annoyed him the most was not that he suffered a defeat. But it was Chow Ren, who was also his cousin with his left arm and right arm, who was disfigured. At first, they didn't know what was thrown down from the city wall. In the process of cleaning the battlefield, they finally figured it out. Chow Ren had lime on his face and was also watered, resulting in extensive burns. Although diagnosed and treated by military doctors, his life was not a major concern. But in the Han dynasty, which valued appearance, he was no longer associated with high-ranking officials. Chow Chow has just lost his father and younger brother. Now my cousin is in front of me again, being harmed by the people in the city. In such a resentful and angry mood, Chow Chow only felt a headache splitting his spine. Even when dismounting, they were helped down by someone. Chow Chow tightly grasped Chow Ren, who was supporting him, and whispered instructions to him. Don't reveal half of my situation, tell Eugene, the whole army will retreat 30 miles. Chow Ren nodded heavily, tears in his eyes, and pretended to be doing nothing to help Chow Chow into the camp. The long-awaited military doctor immediately stepped forward to diagnose and treat Chow Chow. Chow Chow lay prostrate on the desk, closing his eyes and enduring a headache. Retreat the entire army 30 miles and force out the people in the city. I want to see who the divine is and fight me here. When Chow Ren was ordered to go out, he was almost vomited by the smell from the military. These soldiers who have been attacked by golden juice and decaying corpses inevitably have a smell on their bodies. Just withdrew from the city wall, there's no time to wash up. Now the entire Chow army camp is filled with a nauseating atmosphere. After losing the battle, morale was low. Still defeated in this way. Morale can hardly be lowered. Chow Ren touched his bandaged face with a murderous expression in his eyes. Sooner or later, he will wield his sword against the people in the city. Due to the pervasive smell in the military, these soldiers couldn't even eat their meals. The lackluster military morale made Cao Cao, who had just the right amount of headache, erupt again. Unlike the Cao army, in Pengcheng, Lu Yi was leading all the people. The drums and gongs resounded in celebration of their victory this time. Lu Yi took out the vegetables he had hoarded, as well as the meat that didn't look so fresh after being air-dried. And enough polished rice to feed everyone in the city. Solid and solid, let these people taste the life of those aristocratic elders in their daily lives. Lu Yi held the broken cup high. It's filled with water, not wine. He stood up. Today, we are able to defend Pengcheng thanks to the help of everyone in the city. To be honest, Cao Amin has already retreated 30 miles and will not repeat it in the short term. As long as we defend Pengcheng and refuse to go out, even if the Cao army has 1 million strong troops, they are powerless against us. I am here today, using water instead of wine, to thank you all for your strength in defending the city. After speaking, he looked up and drank a glass of water. The people praised Lu Yi one after another as a noble and righteous person. Between each other, praise each other. The people also had doubts about Lu Yi. They also sneaked into the royal mansion several times. But I have never found a single grain of rice, let alone vegetables and meat. Even the next day, the room that Lu Yi took them to had been explored the night before and was completely empty. Lu Yi, I don't know what kind of magic he possessed to transform these grains, vegetables, and meat. I don't know if the food they produce after eating Lu Yi's method will become Lu Yi's puppet. Just at present, the Cao army is besieging the city, and they are counting day by day. Every day, I am anxious and worried about my survival the next day. So there was no in-depth investigation into Lu Yi's actions. Even holding it, even if it becomes Lu Yi's puppet, it doesn't matter. At least before losing consciousness, they can still have enough to eat. Lu Yi and the people in Pengcheng remained silent with each other, not puncturing the last layer of window paper. After everyone had enough to drink and eat, the strong man on duty on the city wall ran over. Lingtian, there are a large number of refugees approaching outside the city. Excuse me, Lingtian, have you welcomed them into the city? Lu Yi pondered for a moment, intending to give an order but feeling it was inappropriate. He turned to ask the people around him. Do you think we should let these refugees enter the city? The people of Pengcheng are also very conflicted in their hearts. These refugees all survived after the Cao army cleared the walls and fields. They all live within the jurisdiction of Pengcheng, and some of them are even their own relatives. You can let them enter the city, maybe there won't be enough food in the city to eat. They have already eaten dry food and know that their stomachs are about to burst. They don't want to go back to the hungry life of the past. If we don't let them in, there will still be our own relatives inside, and it's inevitable that we will be accused of not being able to save ourselves in the future. It's a dilemma. So, the people of Pengcheng kicked this ball back to Lu Yi. We all listen to the husband. The tall ones are blocking in front, even if there is a disaster, they can still run. Lu Yi frowned, looking indecisive. The food in the city is enough to feed everyone. It's okay to add a few more refugees. I'm worried, may there be any spies from the Cao army among them. After Lu Yi's words, these people became alert. Yes, there are so many people. It's not easy for Cao Ahun to get some eyeliner and work hard. They finally managed to secure Pengcheng. In the past few days, everyone has united as one, sharing joys and sorrows. If these outsiders cause the city to collapse and die, then even ghosts will not let him go. The strong man on duty carefully asked Lu Yi. What should I do according to my husband's plan? Lu Yi let out a sigh. It's not my wish to see death without rescue. Due to kindness, it is also a sin to let the Cao army carefully work and harm the people throughout the city. How about this? You go and take a look first. Do you know anyone among these refugees? If you have familiar relatives and friends, you can guarantee them to enter the city first. As for the ones nobody knows. Lu Yi twisted his fingertips. Create a place in the city for them to stay there and observe their every move. No. The people in the city gathered grandly in front of the city gate. Standing on tiptoe, gazing at the refugees, there may be someone I know. Lu Yi stood sideways in the shadow of the city wall, quietly observing these refugees at the Shuyuan www.zhaoshuyuan.com. Sure enough, most of these refugees were related and were quickly taken away. The rest of them, who had no one to lead them away, thought they were going to be driven out of the city and knelt down in tears. It wasn't until I led them to the corner of the city and set up a makeshift shed that I realized I hadn't been abandoned. This is the gentleman's great mercy, giving you a way to survive. If you were the meticulous work of the Chow thief, you could stand up early and still survive. These refugees are all kowtowing their heads. Langjun Mingjian, we are not the meticulous work of the Chow thieves. Chow Jun killed my whole family. I wish I could fight him hard, how could it be Chow Jun's meticulous work? The strong man who led them over snorted coldly. Not the best. Stay calm and don't leave this place for half a step. Then he carried the agricultural tools as weapons and left. And Lu Yi was in the dark, constantly observing these refugees. Allowing these people to enter the city did not increase Lu Yi's reputation much. It can be seen that they are not truly grateful to Lu Yi. But Lu Yi was thinking of another thing. Although these people are not grateful to me, can I use their hatred towards Cao Cao to form a temporary army? After all, being surrounded all the time is not a big deal. We must turn the defense into an attack and explore the reality of Chao's army. Besides, with so many young men on duty, there are not enough people available. Not giving them something to do, they are bored and don't know what evil things they will do. After making up his mind, Lu Yi stopped and looked for a while before turning around and leaving. He still has to take someone to collect tonight's food. Chapter 8. Carrying young adults to engage in underground warfare. You are listening at novelfull.audio. Ads by Google equals window. Ads by Google. Push. It is certainly unrealistic to rely on a group of people who have never killed anyone to defeat a group of elite soldiers killed in the midst of corpses and blood. Moreover, the army led by Cao Cao is also the famous Qingzhou soldiers. Lu Yi's brain twitched before he wanted to confront people head-on. He just felt that he could beat another wave of fallen dogs while the morale of the Cao army was low. Although this dog will eventually swim ashore and bark wildly on the other side. But at least this 1 acre and 3/10 of our own land can be considered guarded. Lu Yi's requirements are not high, as long as he can drive the Cao army out of the border of Pengcheng. As for the Cao army who remained on the border of Shuzhou after leaving Pengcheng, it had nothing to do with him. He is the Empress Prince Jing of Pengcheng, not the governor of Shuzhou. Why bother with this? There are many young men in the city now, and with a little training, they can drive ducks into battle. No weapons. The corpses of the Cao army outside the city that have not yet been cleaned up are nothing more than heavenly weapons. At present, there is simply a lack of generals who can lead this group of people. However, Lu Yi had no intention of calling out, he just drove the people away. If not, then there won't be any. However, in this vast plain, it really requires thinking to drive away Chao's army. In Lu Yi's view, one's own shortcomings may not necessarily be the enemy's advantage. They don't have any cover, and neither do the Cao army. Everyone is just fighting hard, see who has the biggest fist. In terms of the excellence of swords and weapons, Lu Yi definitely cannot compare with Cao Cao. Especially Cao Cao has cavalry. In such a wilderness, youth is like a living target, and with a wave of cavalry charge, they are completely killed. And the cavalry can also fly kites, hanging these young hikers, slowly grinding away their courage. We need to find a way to force these cavalry off their horses. Although 30 miles apart, Cao Cao would send scouts to inspect Pengcheng every day. Report to the Lord, someone has left Pengcheng to search for weapons on our soldiers' bodies. Cao Cao squinted his eyes, leaned against the desk on one side of his body. They are trying to counterattack. Cao Ren laughed heartily after listening. Counterattack. With just these women and children in the city. It's ridiculous. Cao Cao also smiled. This person has a good brain and a lot of courage, but he has never been to the battlefield, lacks experience, and is too young. After speaking, there was a flash of brilliance in my eyes. Such a person, if not used by me. Over time, they will be my formidable enemy. Cao Ren no longer needed to bandage himself, but he could never face his reflection in the mirror. Although he is Cao Zixiao, he is not a charming and handsome man. But he can also be considered a handsome person. Now. After breaking through the city, he will surely wield his hand up and down in Pengcheng. I won't even let go of a dog. It's not surprising that Cao Ren was ruthless, even Cao Cao was really angry. Thinking about slaughtering all the living creatures in the city after it was destroyed. They suffered heavy losses after the last siege and World War I. At first, Cao Cao thought that the casualties would not be too great. As a result, not only did they lose a large number of elite soldiers and strong generals during the siege. After the withdrawal, all the soldiers who were injured and could have survived were still suffering from high fever. No matter how military doctors treat them, they cannot save their lives. Not only the elite soldiers, but also the losses of the war horses are very high. Those war horses with injured ankles can no longer continue to fight on the battlefield. As a last resort, Cao Cao could only order that these war horses be killed as military rations. These casualties greatly exceeded Cao Cao's expectations. He didn't expect that his dream of quickly annexing Suzhou under the guise of his father's murder would be shattered like this. Cao Cao was unwilling to accept it. I'm even more unwilling. I didn't get anything this time and returned in vain. Cao Cao has been waiting for the opportunity to break the city. But now, his first priority is to soothe people's hearts. Both Cao Ren and Eugene had a calm expression on their faces. Cao Cao burst into laughter. Previously, we were worried about insufficient food and supplies. Now, there are fewer people and fewer horses. It's enough for us to hold on until next spring. Can we still defend this small Pengcheng for 3 or 4 months? Even if they can really hold on. In spring, the people in the city will think about farming and escape from the city. At that time, it will be our opportunity. Even if Tao Qian asks for help, no one will come. Suzhou. Cao Cao clenched his fist. I am determined to win. Wishing the Lord a speedy fulfillment of his wishes. Cao Cao chuckled. Let's all go down. The military's morale has been unstable lately, you go and calm it down. This is a protracted war, and we need to be prepared for the long term. No. After waiting for someone to leave, Cao Cao's face darkened. He swept everything on the desk to the ground. Breathing heavily, staring intently at the distant city. My head seems to be starting to hurt again. Cao Cao held back and refused to let anyone call him a military doctor. At this point, the morale of the military cannot be further disrupted. Lu Yi led the people in the city and began to dig trenches around Pengcheng in circles. These trenches are very narrow and only allow one person to pass through. Cao Cao received news from the scout for several consecutive days, but did not take any action. He wants to see what new tricks the poisonous and spicy person in the city has come up with this time. As the trench continued to expand outward, it gradually approached the garrison of the Cao army. Cao Ren's current mentality is very complex, and he looks down on these ignorant and foolish people, and hates them for causing him to disfigure himself. He asked Cao Cao for his order. Please order me, Lord, to lead troops and kill them. These ignorant people don't understand such a narrow gap, and warhorses can easily jump over it. At that time, they will take their heads off their necks to comfort the soldiers who died during the siege. Chow Chow pondered for a moment. He also wants to explore the other party's details. He agreed to Chow Ren. The war drums sounded in the army, and Chow Ren took the lead, vowing revenge. But when Chow Ren arrived at those trenches, he found that there was no one. What's going on? Where are people? Hurry up and find it for me. Riding on a horse's back is not as convenient as getting off the horse and walking. Lu Yi, who was hiding in the trenches and tunnels, signaled for everyone to be prepared. They watched as Chow's army dismounted, circled around the trench, and those who entered directly into the trench. Lu Yi blew a whistle. The people hidden in the dark began to take action one after another. Some poked their faces upwards, while others hooked the soldiers of the Chow army in the trench and dragged them to their side to kill them. As the number of soldiers brought out decreased, cries of sorrow echoed everywhere. Chow Ren, who was riding on a horse, was still inside. What happened? The lucky escaped general covered the bleeding area of his severed arm and asked Chow Ren to leave quickly. General, hurry up. There's fraud here. Chow Ren looked around and saw that the soldiers had no strength to fight back. Without even having time to cut the knife, he was stabbed in the eye by a sharp weapon below. Feeling restless, he obeyed the instructions of his subordinates and rode back to the camp, telling Chow Chow everything he had encountered. After listening, Chow Chow squinted his eyes and looked at the trenches that had begun to approach the camp again. Okay, this person is amazing. Previously, I underestimated him. Looking for Shuyuan www.zhaoshuyuan.com, no experience. Hahaha, I'm full of bad water. Zixiao, your defeat this time was due to his calculation and lack of intention. You won't lose. But I still don't understand what it means for him to approach our army like this without any soldiers in his hands. Everyone was puzzled. Chow Chow couldn't think of it for a moment. It's okay, we'll always know. You guys go down first. Late at night, in a heavily guarded camp of the Chow army, a head peeked out. Lang Jun, it should be here. I can't be wrong listening to those people below. Louis nodded and handed the flint over. Remember to order more places, in case it doesn't burn, we'll lose a lot. Mainly because he lost a lot. This time we brought people out, but it was at the cost of 1 chicken per person per day that they were allowed to follow. If this surprise attack is not successful, he will be dead. Chow Chow will definitely be furious and attack the city at all costs. At that time, no matter how much food he has in his hand, he cannot hold it. A faint flame lit up in the dim tent. The man who ignited the fire, being careful to protect the flames, covered all the grain piles with rain and dew. After setting off the fire, Louis had not left yet. He had to watch the fire grow bigger with his own eyes in order to truly feel at ease. As the fire grew louder, the Chow army began to panic. Lu Yima quickly left the scene with his people. They followed the dug trench all the way back to Pengcheng. When entering the city, Lu Yi even turned around and glanced at the raging Chow camp. Not to mention, the things passed down from our ancestors are just useful. Chapter 9. Within the jurisdiction of Pengcheng, there are no hungry people. You are listening at novelfull.audio. Ads by Google equals window. Ads by Google. Push, even if discovered in a timely manner, most of the provisions were still burned away. In deep winter, Shuzhou is dry and windy. A little spark, in an instant, can sweep across the entire plain. Facing the ruins, Chow Chow was extremely angry and laughed back. Okay. I do know why he dug trenches. Under the guise of a trench, we actually used an underground tunnel to explore our army. After finding the storage area for food and supplies, we attacked it with fire. This move is amazing. High, really high. Faced with Cao Cao laughing from the sky, Cao Ren and Eugene didn't know how to deal with it. The two of them looked at each other and couldn't help but think that if Sun Yu were here at this moment, it would be great. This time, Cao Cao, in order to show his intention of forcing death to the outside world, left his family and important advisors Sun Yu and Cheng Yu in Yenzhou. So this time when Cao Cao sent troops, there were no strategists accompanying him. The sun shining down is very dazzling. Cao Cao squinted his eyes and looked at the sun. He knew that the generals were all waiting for his orders. Should we hold on or withdraw our troops? Let's withdraw. This is the final decision made by Cao Cao. Cao Ren quickly asked, "Are you going back to Yenzhou?" Cao Cao smiled and said, "What are you doing back to Yenzhou? I haven't stayed enough in Shuzhou's territory yet. When I come out, I have to bring something home. Retreat 100 miles. I want to see what kind of poison there is in Pengcheng, and try my best to use it." Lu Yi and the people gathered on the city wall, gazing at the Chao army camp. Seeing the Chao army slowly retreating, the people couldn't help but cheer. They actually managed to defend Pengcheng on their own. The Chao army has retreated more than 100 miles now, and for a while, they may not be able to fight back. Can they go home now? At that time, I was in a hurry and there were still many things left at home, and I didn't know if I had been in trouble. Louis looked at the reputation value on the panel, which was slowly rising, and wanted to make a move. Just a little short, he can be promoted to level 15. But now the reputation of the city is almost harvested. We need to supplement our manpower. After the last farewell meal, the people fell asleep soundly. Lu Yi held a branch and gestured on the ground. Host. Lu Yi official position. None reputation value. For 1209 unlocked level 14 spirit field. Unlocked level 6 poultry farming. Unlocked level 4 livestock farming. Unlocked level 2 honeycomb. Unlocked level 14 shopping mall. As the level increases, more and more items are unlocked. Lu Yi also began to plan for the future. This time the situation was urgent, so he didn't hide anything and exposed his trump card. Nowadays in the city, there must be people who are skeptical about how to find food. After Chao's army retreats, Tao Qian and Lu He will naturally return. When the time comes, these people will tell their own little black story. So in this era of valuing personal integrity, I am finished. It's impossible to pull people and horses, let alone dominate the world. The first thing to do is to have an idea and keep the matter of Lingtian hidden. Louis planned to make a living by selling grain everywhere as a merchant after the matter here was completely resolved. In the era of power struggles, population and food supply are both the most important and headache-inducing issues. As long as you hold the food in your hand, you will be greeted with a smile no matter where you are. No one complains about the abundance of grain in their own granary. By selling grain, one can quickly accumulate a considerable amount of household income. When the time comes. Where is the best place to settle down? Yenzhou is the stronghold of Cao Cao, so I definitely can't go there. It's not that Louis looks down on Cao Cao, it's that he has self-awareness towards himself. His personality, under the command of Cao Cao, has only one way to be killed. Sun Jian has already died, and Sun Su is currently serving Yuan Shao. In a few years, he may return to Jiangdong independently. Not suitable at the moment. As for Lu Guanzhang, they are now serving Gongsun Zan and station troops on the plain. Yuan Shu, Yuan Shao, and Gongsun Zan, these three are not good destinations. Lu Yi tapped the branches on the ground. So in the end, do I still have to stay and operate in Shuzhou? Shuzhou is indeed a good place. A place that every soldier must contend for. It is also a plain area suitable for cultivating crops. Can Tao Qian, along with his own cousin, allow himself to stay? When a white crane suddenly appears among ordinary black crows, the outcome is hard to say. But for now, there seems to be no other, more suitable place. At least I have just successfully defended the city, and there is still some popular support in the Pengcheng area. Who recognizes themselves after changing to another place. Lu Yi set aside the branches and decided not to think anymore. That night, as usual, Lu Yi couldn't get a good night's sleep. He was burdened with the system and realized the danger in his heart at this moment. So I never dared to sleep soundly anymore. If there was a slight noise, I would wake up immediately. This time is no exception. Lu Yi squinted his eyes and saw many people gathered around him, whispering. He pretended not to know and turned over, turning his face towards them. Seeing that they were not panicked, Lu Yi let go of his worries. At least it's not against one's own desires. Be quiet, don't argue with your husband. You said, when the husband wakes up and we talk to him, will he agree? I don't know how much food is still in the city, I'm afraid only Lang Jun knows. It's useless for us to guess here. Let's wait until the husband gets up before we talk. Lu Yi stood up with one ear and understood their words. After taking a nap again, Lu Yi pretended to be awake, sat up, and rubbed his eyes. Hey, you guys come to me for something. Previously, the sky was dark and Lu Yi didn't see the person clearly, but now he understands it. These are all loyal people who have been loyal to him in recent days. Last time he went out to dig trenches, it was precisely because of these people that Lu Yi dared to leave the city with peace of mind. Otherwise, Lu Yi would still be afraid that he could get out and not come in. Seeing them come together, there must be something demanding of oneself. Lu Yi waited with interest for their next words. Zhaozhuyuan.com, well. My lord, I don't know how long the food in the city will be enough to eat. Lu Yi smiled. It's enough to feed these people in the city. At least it can be enough for spring next year. After their eyes lit up and they looked at each other, they respectfully asked Lu Yi. If we are willing to save some food, can we eat longer? Of course. Several people immediately knelt in front of Lu Yi. Please help the people of Pengcheng. Sir, Pengcheng State has jurisdiction over Pengcheng, Biyang, Wuyuan, Guangxi, Xianxiu, as well as Lv, Lu, Wu and other places. This time the Chao bandits attacked Xuzhou, and we defended Pengcheng. However, the rest of our jurisdiction suffered great difficulties. We come together and earnestly request your mercy to accept these refugees from your jurisdiction into the city. Yes, now the Chao bandits have retreated 100 miles away. We can also freely enter and exit the city walls and accept them without any harm. Many people's relatives in the city are within the jurisdiction of Pengcheng State. This is what everyone hopes for. Lu Yi pondered for a moment before brushing his sleeves and rising. If there are people within the jurisdiction of Pengcheng who are willing to go to Pengcheng, I will naturally step forward to welcome them. I, Lu Yi, was a descendant of Prince Jing of Pengcheng. The people under the jurisdiction of Pengcheng State were the people of my great-grandfather. Now that my cousin is not here, as a younger brother, should naturally guard Pengcheng Kingdom for him. Let those who leave the city say to the refugees who come along the way, there will be no one in the jurisdiction of Pengcheng Kingdom who is hungry. These people all bowed down one after another. Your Highness and Righteousness. I'll thank you, sir. Lu Yi smiled and helped them up, but he thought to himself that there was hope for an upgrade now. Chapter 10. Inadequate food and grass, defeated Pengcheng. You are listening at novelfull.audio. Ads by Google equals window. Ads by Google. Push. At first, the people in the city were afraid that they would be pursued by the Chao army after leaving the city. After discovering that Chao Jun had no action, there were immediately more people leaving. At the same time, there were also many more refugees pouring into Pengcheng. Lu Yi did not dare to set up a kanji shed outside the city for fear of Chao's sudden attack. The city provides simple kanji dishes for refugees. Because Xuzhou is currently in winter, green leafy vegetables cannot be seen at all. So Lu Yi only used large and full Chinese cabbage. As for meat, I'm sorry, I was completely eaten during the city defense. As for Lu Yi secretly opening a small stove for himself, it's another matter. After the warm spring flowers bloom, Lu Yi plans to plant a batch of green leafy vegetables, which will be sold everywhere along with polished rice. Wandering around can also serve as an effective means of concealing cards. At present, the arrival of these refugees has once again boosted Lu Yi's reputation. Successfully crossed level 15. But as more and more refugees gather in Pengcheng, it has reached the maximum capacity. The clear kanji is getting thinner and thinner day by day. The people in the city began to panic, feeling that this was a sign of the granary running out. Outside the city, the Chao army has not yet left. It's like a group of hungry wolves, watching them closely. The hearts of the people in the city began to be unstable. Lu Yi discovered this early on, but did not do anything. He has done enough already. If he does too much, he may really stand out in the forest and be destroyed by the wind. Now, the biggest crisis has passed. As long as we maintain the status quo, we can withstand it. Lu Yi also pondered that with the prevailing atmosphere at that time, Tao Qian would definitely send someone to seek help. He always has to leave some work to show off to later generations. I just don't know who will come, whether it's easy to deal with Chao's army camp. Cao is also gazing at Pengcheng in the distance. The scout reports daily that more and more refugees are entering the city. Cao couldn't help but suspect. Is there really enough food in Pengcheng to feed so many people? Could it be that Tao Qian left it behind specifically when he abandoned the city? No, Tao Qian is not someone with this personality. Since he chose to abandon the city, he would never leave behind weapons, supplies, or provisions. Tao Qian gave up Pengcheng and gave up directly. How could he leave something to reward Cao? There must be something fishy inside. Cao stroked his beard and sought advice from Cao Ren. Zixiao, do you think I should also disguise myself and go into the city to see? Cao Ren was startled. How can the Lord enter such a dangerous area? It's better for the last general to investigate. Cao waved his hand. I don't even feel at ease when others go. He sat down on the ground and casually pulled out a handful of grass. I was able to escape even though I failed to assassinate Dong Zhuo back then. Now that there is no soldier in Pengcheng, what can I do? I'm just not willing to accept it. Disgruntled, this deployment ended hastily like this. I didn't catch anything and even suffered losses. Cao Ren knew that Cao's words were not false. Nowadays, among the many heroes, only Cao's cavalry is the least. And this time, during the attack on Pengcheng, many war horses were lost. At that time, Cao was so heartbroken that his tears were about to fall. Cao pointed to Pengcheng in the distance. I want to go into the city and take a look. Firstly, I want to find out who the thief's leader is. Secondly, I want to know where their granary is. Cao proudly touched his beard. He can set fire to my food, can't I follow suit? I want to see who has a thicker family background, me and him. Cao Ren hesitated to speak. Cao saw it. Tell me, what's going on? Cao Ren whispered and reported the situation in the army one by one. My lord. Actually, the soldiers in the army have no desire to fight anymore. The previous siege left deep memories for many soldiers. I heard from the generals that many soldiers even dreamed of the scene of the siege on that day. Cao gave him a sideways glance. What the hell is this? They're not even afraid of killing. Are they still afraid of these things? It's just that the smell is a bit unpleasant. It's dead again. Cao's face darkened as he remembered the plague that had almost been caused in the army after the siege. If it weren't for him bringing enough medicinal herbs, he might have had to account for his own life here. The thief head in Pengcheng is really poisonous. Dong Zhuo was unable to take his life as Cao Cao, but almost lost himself in the hands of an unknown person. Cao Ren saw that Cao Cao's face was very ugly and hesitated whether to finish speaking. Continuing. Besides military morale, what else is there? No. And also, the burning of food and grass last time did have a great impact on our army. Cao Ren looked at Cao Cao's profile and carefully considered his words. Not counting the time to return to Yenzhou, there may only be half a month's worth of food left. Cao Cao's face turned iron blue. Counting back to Yenzhou, isn't it enough for 3 days in a row? Why didn't you tell me earlier? Cao Ren immediately knelt down. The last general, who was also banned, had previously discussed whether to plunder the surrounding area for food and supplies. But the surrounding areas of Pengcheng were already robbed once when the Cao army arrived. However, in just 2 months, how could edible crops grow again in the fields? Not only Cao Cao, but also Cao Ren and Eugene do not want to return without success. It's not bad to say that we can at least rest and make up for the losses. But Cao Cao, who lost Pengcheng like this and later occupied Yenzhou, would be ridiculed by the people of the world. Of course, Tao Qian was also ridiculed. As the governor of Shuzhou, it was difficult to defend the city and he abandoned it and fled. However, they relied on the abandoned people in the city, bravely killed the enemy, and sought help from Shuyuan www.zhaoshuyuan.com to protect Pengcheng. Nowadays, there have been rumors of satire against Tao Qian in various places. If they leave with nothing at this point, they will soon be the second target of ridicule. Furthermore, both Cao Ren and Eugene were furious with the thief leader in charge of major events in Pengcheng. Thinking of seeking revenge. After a few twists and turns, this matter was dragged down. Until now, it was not until now that Cao Cao knew that he could no longer conceal it. Cao Cao suddenly turned around and looked down at Cao Ren kneeling. I know what you and Eugene are thinking in your heart. You're right, I think the same way. It's okay, withdraw the troops and return to Yenzhou. Cao Ren looked up with an incredulous expression on his face. Lord, are we just giving up the land we have already laid in Shuzhou like this? Cao Cao cast a sinister glance at Pengcheng in the distance. The heavens do not fulfill people's wishes. This time it's the heavens who are helping that thief. After I have raised enough troops and horses, it's not too late to swallow the entire Shuzhou. But those rumors and gossip. Cao Cao burst into laughter. Zixiao, do you think I care about those people? Since we can't sew their mouths together, let them say whatever they want. In that case, I will take orders to prepare for the return to Yenzhou. Go ahead. Report to the governor, a group of people are approaching us. The flag is written with the character Lu, I don't know which way it is from. However, looking at his camp, there are many refugees, which is different from ordinary people. Cao Cao signaled that he already knew. At the same time, I pondered who would come at this moment.